Good day everyone, hope you are well. Today we are going to have a look at the combined activity 2. This will be the memo discussion. The following are some of the transactions of Wendrift Shop, owner Ms. Wendy Drift, during November 2008. You are required to analyze the transactions that took place on the 3rd, 5th, 12th and the 26th in the accounting equation. This is due 17 June. Prepare the cash receipts journal, cash payments journal, debtors journal and the debtors allowances journal for November 2008. This is also due on the 17th of June. Post to the following accounts in the general ledger. The opening balances totals are provided in brackets. This is due on the 23rd of June. Now all of these accounts, they expect us to do this, but I'm going to do all of the accounts that we used, which will make it easier to set up the trial balance, which they expect of us in question 1.4, which is also due on the 23rd of June. Transactions. Right, so before we continue with the transactions, I'm first going to do 1.1, where we are going to do the accounting equations of the transactions on the 3rd, 5th, 12th and the 26th. Right, so on the 3rd, let's have a look at that transaction. Cash sales of 1,632 Rand, of which the cost price was 1,088 Rand. Let's go and do that in our accounting equation. This took place on the 3rd. The source document will be a cash register roll journal. We received money, therefore it will be cash receipt journal. Account being debited will be my bank account, and bank is an assets account, and assets will increase in the debit side. Because assets are increased, we can go and show the effect on assets, 1,632 Rand. So assets will increase with 1,632 Rand. My bank will increase because I had sales, and sales are classified as an income account, and income increases in the credit side. So income will always have a positive influence on my owner's equity, so we can go and show the influence on my owner's equity. There you are done with this, well, halfway with this one. Second part of this transaction, to make money you need to spend money, so we had cost of sales as well. Cost of sales is an expense account, and expenses increases in the debit side and will always have a negative influence on your owner's equity. So the cost of sales was 1,088 Rand. They gave this to us, and then my trading stock will decrease because remember I'm selling my trading stock, so the customer is physically taking it out of my store to their home or to their business. Therefore my trading stock is decreasing. Trading stock is classified as an asset, and assets will decrease in the credit side. Let's go and show the influence on assets. Assets will decrease with 1,088 Rand. Minus 1,088 Rand will equal minus 1,088 Rand plus 0. Therefore, we've done this one correctly. We did the first one correctly as well. If you do the calculation, you will see it works out. The next one that we need to do is on the 5th. So on the 5th, paid the wages directly into the bank accounts of the two employees, 4,200 Rand. Remember, they said paid directly. That means my source document will be the bank statement, and I'm paying money, therefore my journal will be the cash payment journal. So because I am paying money, my bank will decrease, and as in the previous transaction I told you, bank will increase in the debit side, bank will decrease in the credit side. Let's show the influence on my assets. So bank will decrease with 4,200 Rand. Why is my bank increasing or decreasing? Because I'm paying wages. Wages is an expense account, and expenses increases in the debit side, and expenses will always have a negative influence on my owner's equity. Next transaction that we need to do took place on the 12th. Let's go and have a look at that transaction. So on the 12th, send a check number 01 to UTWO Supplies for merchandise bought, 4,988 Rand. Right, so on the 12th, we send a check, so my source document will be a check counterfoil, and I paid money, so cash payment journal. My bank will decrease because I am paying money, and therefore my influence on my assets, you can show, will decrease with the amount spent, 4,988 Rand. So why is my bank decreasing? Because I bought trading stock, and trading stock is an assets account, and assets increases in the debit side. So trading stock increases in the debit side, it's an asset. Let's go and show the influence on my assets account. Assets will increase with 4,988 Rand. So 4,988 Rand minus 4,988 Rand will equal 0 plus 0. Therefore, we have done this one correctly as well. The next one that we need to do took place on the 26th. Let's go and have a look at that transaction. On the 26th, received a check from Raf for 2,000 Rand in part payment of his account. Issued a receipt. So, on the 26th, our source document will be a duplicate receipt because we are giving the original to the customer. Duplicate receipt, we are receiving money, so therefore cash receipt journal. And Mr. Ruff is paying part of his debt, so our bank account will increase because we are going to put the money there for safekeeping. So my bank will increase with that amount of 2,000 Rand, but my debtors control will decrease. The reason for this is because now Mr. Ruff, which is a debtor, owes me less money. Therefore, my debtors control, which is also an asset, will decrease in my credit side. Okay, so plus 2,000 minus 2,000 will equal 0 plus 0. Therefore, we've done the last one correctly as well. Right, next up we need to do the journals. So we're going to start with the first transaction that took place on the 1st, and we are going to go and place all of these transactions in the correct journals. Right, so on the 1st, Miss Drift transferred 15,000 Rand directly into the bank account of Wendrift shop. So we received money, so I'm going to go straight to my cash receipt journal, and the document number will be the bank statement because remember, transferred directly into the bank account, took place on the 1st, and we are receiving money from Miss Drift. Right, this is the owner of Wendrift. Right, so analysis of receipts is going to be empty because it was transferred directly into the bank account, and therefore we as a business did not get the opportunity to analyze this transaction before it reflected into our bank account. Right, so they did not provide a column for capital, therefore we are going to put it in our sundry accounts, 15,000 Rand, reason capital. Capital will go to the balance sheet section in my general ledger account. Remember, balance section accounts will be all of my owner's equity accounts, asset accounts, and liability accounts. Next transaction took place on the 3rd. Right, so cash sales of 1,632 Rand, of which the cost price was 1,088 Rand. So we received money, so we can go and account for this in my cash receipt journal. My source document will be a cash register roll. This took place on the 3rd, and we received money because of sales. Remember, they did not provide us with a customer's name, therefore we're going to use the term sales. Right, so we received 1,632 Rand. It will reflect in our bank account at the end of the day. The reason we received this money is because of sales, and to make money we need to spend money, so we had cost of sales of 1088 Rand. Next transaction. Right, so next transaction took place on the 4th. Sold goods on credit to RRF 4,599 Rand, of which the cost price was 3,066 Rand. Invoice 01 was issued. F fine 9,976 Rand, of which the cost price was 651 Rand. So both of this is on credit, so I will go straight to my debtors journal and fill it into the correct journal. Right, so we issued invoices to these debtor customers or credit customers. So first one was invoice 01. It took place on the 4th, and the debtor was RRF. I will give him the ID of D1. The sales amount was 4,599 Rand, of which the cost price was 3,066 Rand. Second one, we will issue invoice 02 because the first one was 01. It also took place on the 4th. I'm not going to write the date again. The debtor's name was F Fine. F Fine, I'm going to give him an ID of D2, he's debtor 2, and the sales amount which we sold to him was 976 Rand, of which the cost price was 651 Rand. Right, so next transaction took place on the 5th. Paid the wages directly into the bank accounts of the two employees. Paid directly. So my source document in my cash payment journal will be bank statement. So bank statement, this took place on the 5th. Details will be cash. They did not give me names of their two employees. It's because it's wages, it's an informal way of payment. I don't need to know the name of the two employees, therefore my details will only be cash. Right, so 4,200 Rand for wages. Then on the 7th, F Fine paid 12,000 Rand directly into the bank account of Wendriff Shop. We already know that F Fine is a debtor. We gave him the ID of D2. Okay, so in our cash receipts journal, his ID will remain D2. Right, so cash receipts journal, the source document will be bank statement because he paid directly into the bank account. The date is the 7th. We received money from F Fine. Remember, we gave him an ID of D2, paid directly into the bank account of Wendriff Shop, so we did not get the opportunity to analyze the transaction before it reflected in the bank account. And the reason we received money is because of a debtor settling some of their debts. So our debtors control will decrease and my bank will increase. Next transaction. Right, so the next transaction took place on the 9th. Cash sales of 1,598 Rand, of which the cost price was 1,065 Rand. So let's go and fill that in my cash receipts journal. My source document will be the cash register roll. This took place on the 9th. That did not give me a name of any of the clients, so my details will be sales. I will get an opportunity to analyze this transaction before it reflects on my bank account because it was not transferred directly into my bank account. The sales amount was 1,598 Rand, and then it will reflect in my bank account at the end of the day. The reason I received this money is because of sales, and to make money I need to spend money, therefore my cost of sales was 1,065 Rand. Right, so next transaction. The next transaction also took place on the 9th. Smoot settled her account by making a direct deposit into the bank account of Wendriff Shop of 5,000 Rand. So this means that She paid directly into the bank account. Therefore, source document, once again, bank statement. It took place on the 9th. I'm not going to write the date again. We received money from S. Smooth. Smooth. What is her name? S. Smooth. So we will give S. Smooth a debtors ID of D3. It's the first time that we're working with them in this activity. So S. Smooth, remember, transferred directly into the bank account, so we did not get an opportunity to analyze this transaction. 5,000 Rand. Reason, debtors control. 5,000 Rand. Right, next transaction. Next transaction took place on the 9th as well. RRF returned some of the stock which he bought on the 4th, 340 Rand, of which the cost price was 227 Rand. Credit note 01 was issued. So RRF bought stuff on the 4th, he took it home, he opened it, he was unhappy with the products, so he brought it back. So we issued him with credit note 01, essentially confirming that we are deducting the money from the amount that he owes us. He does not have to pay it to us anymore. This took place on the 9th. The debtor is RRF. Remember, we gave RRF an ID of D1, and the amount we are deducting from his account are 340 Rand. He does not have to pay that anymore. So essentially, when we sold this product to RF, we incurred cost of sales. Now we need to reverse it because he brought the products back. So my cost of sales, my expenses, will decrease with 227 Rand. Right, next transaction took place on the 9th as well. F. Fine claimed an allowance for shop sold stock supplied to him on the 4th. A credit note for 68 Rand was authorized by the owner. You need to ask yourself here, is Mr. Fine bringing back any stock? The answer is no. So it will have no influence on my cost of sales. So my cost of sales will be 0 in my debtors allowances journal. But nonetheless, we issued credit note number 02 because the previous one is 01. It also took place on the 9th. I'm not going to write the date again. The debtor's name is F. Fine. And remember, we gave F. Fine the debtor's ID of D2. And the amount that we will deduct from his or her account, 68 Rand. So this person does not have to pay us this amount anymore. Right, next transaction. Next transaction took place on the 10th. Paid the wages directly into the bank accounts of the 2 employees, 4,200 Rand. Okay, so we've done this transaction before, just on a different date. So directly means bank statement will be my source document. This took place on the 10th, if I remember, yes, the 10th. That did not give me an employee's name. Cash, remember, informal way of payment. I don't need their names. So bank will decrease with 4,200 Rand and my expenses will increase with 4,200 Rand. Right. Next transaction took place on the 12th. Send a check number 01 to UTWO suppliers for merchandise bought, 4,988 Rand. So cash payment journal. My source document will be check counterfoil 01. This took place on the 12th. My details will be UTWO suppliers. And we are paying them an amount of 4,988 Rand. My bank will decrease with that amount and my trading stock will increase with that amount. Right, so next transaction took place on the 15th. Paid the wages directly into the bank account for the 2 employees. They are receiving a lot of money. Right, so cash payment journal. Remember, directly into their account, so bank statement will be my source document. This took place on the 15th. I don't have their names, therefore my details will only be cash, and the amount being deducted from my bank account is 4,200. My expenses, my wages will increase with 4,200 Rand. Next transaction also took place on the 15th. Miss Wendy Drift bought a sound system for 3,299 Rand for her son. Okay, there's a clue. She used a business check to pay Audiovis and company. So this is personal, it's not business related, but she used a business check. So if the owner takes money out of the business, it is known as drawings. So essentially the business is paying this check counterful 02. Remember, she paid by check. This took place on the 15th as well, and we are paying Audio This and company. The amount being deducted from our bank account will be 3,299 Rand for drawings. They did not provide a column for drawings, so we need to take it to the sundry accounts. Other transactions. Drawings, remember, owner's equity account will go to the balance sheet section. Therefore, I will just let it my folio be B for balance sheet section accounts. Right, next transaction also took place on the 15th. S Smooth bought slightly shop sold stock on credit from Wendrift Shop for 2,130 Rand, of which the cost price was 2,800. You will notice that my cost price is higher than my selling price. This means I'm making a loss, but remember, this is soiled stock, it's damaged. So I'm just glad to receive something for it. So instead of writing this stock off or losing it completely, so at least I'm receiving 2,130 Rand. It's still a loss, but it's better than nothing. Right, so I'm receiving money. Not yet though. This person still owes us this money because he bought it on credit. So invoice 03 will be issued to S Smooth. This took place on the 15th. S Smooth, and if I remember correctly, we gave S Smooth the ID of debtor 3 in our cash receipts journal. Let's just double check. S Smooth D3, yes. Right, so the amount that this or she will owe us is 2,130 Rand, and this product costs us 2,800 originally to sell. Okay, so next transaction. Next transaction took place on the 18th. Cash sales of 1,576 Rand, of which the cost price was 1,051 Rand. So cash receipt journal. So cash register roll will be my source document. This took place on the 18th. My details will be sales. We will get an opportunity to analyze this transaction before it will reflect in my bank accounts. 1,576 Rand. At the end of the day, it will reflect in my bank account. The reason I'm receiving this money is because we had sales. To make money, I had to spend money, so my cost of sales was 1,051 Rand. Okay, next transaction. Next transaction also took place on the 18th. RRF transferred 8,800 Rand directly into the bank account of Wendrift Shop as payment on his account. Right, so we received money directly into our bank account means the source document is bank statement. It took place on the 18th, and I'm not going to write the date again. Debtor's name is RF. and we gave RRAF an ID, if I remember correctly, was D1. Let's just double check. RRAF D1, yes. So the failure will be D1. Okay, we will not get an opportunity to analyze this transaction because he transferred it directly into our bank account, 8,800. The reason being a debtor is settling their debts. Next transaction also took place on the 18th. Supplied stock on credit to RRAF for 1,922 Rand. Cost price 1,281 Rand. So this will be a debtor's journal entry. Invoice number 4 will be issued to RRAF. Took place on the 18th. The debtor RRAF. Remember, is D1. The amount of this transaction was 1,922 Rand, of which the cost price was 1,281 Rand. Right, so the next transaction took place on the 20th. Paid the wages directly into the bank accounts of the 2 employees. They're receiving money again, they must be working hard. Right, so cash payment journal. Directly into their bank accounts means my source document must be bank statement. The date is the 20th. My details, remember, will be cash because I don't have the names of the employees. The amount that will be deducted from my bank account was 4,200, reason being wages. Next transaction took place on the 24th. Fine bought goods for 3,492 Rand, of which the cost price was 2,328 Rand. Right, so on credit, we know Fine is a debtor, so we can go straight to the debtor's journal. Invoice number 5 will be issued to Fine. This took place on the 24th. Fine. We gave Fine an debtor's ID of D2, and the selling amount was 3,492 Rand, of which the cost price was 2,328 Rand. Right, so the next transaction took place on the 24th as well. Received a check from Smooth for 1,980 Rand in part payment of her account. Issued receipt 01. Right, so this took place. We received money, so this will go to my cash receipt journal. It took place on the 24th. And my source document will be duplicate receipt 01. Our first receipt that we issued took place on the 24th, and the debtor is Smooth. Smooth as debtor's ID is D3. We will get an opportunity to analyze this transaction before it reflects in my bank account because we issued a receipt, we knew about it, and then at the end of the day it will reflect in my bank account. I received this money because a debtor is settling some of her debts, so it will go to the debtors control column. Right, next transaction took place on the 25th. Cash sales of 1,982 Rand, of which the cost price was 1,321 Rand. So we received cash, so we will go to our cash receipt journal. Our source document will be cash register roll. This took place on the 25th, and our details will be sales. We then provide us with customer names. So sales 1,982 Rand. It will reflect in my bank at the end of the day. And the reason that I received this money is because I had sales. To make money, I need to spend money. I had cost of sales as well, 1,321 Rand. Right, so the next transaction took place on the 26th. Received a check from RRF for 2,000 Rand in part payment of his account. Issued a receipt. So we received more money. Receipt number 2 will be issued to duplicate receipt. Remember, the customer will take the original, we will keep the duplicate. This took place on the 26th, and the debtor who we are receiving money from is RRF. RRF's debtor's ID was D1, and the amount that we are receiving from him is 2,000 Rand. We will get an opportunity to analyze this transaction because it was not paid into our bank account directly. It will reflect in my bank account at the end of the day though. The reason we receive this money is because the debtor is settling their debts. Right, so next transaction took place on the 27th. Paid the wages directly into the bank accounts of 2 employees. 4,500 Rand. They got a raise of 300 Rand. Okay, so directly, my source document therefore must be bank statement. This took place on the 27th. My details will be cash. 4,500 Rand will be deducted from my bank account, the reason being sales, 4,500 Rand. Right, so next transaction also took place on the 27th. Bank charges as per bank statement received from Big Bank, 198 Rand. So we paid money. My source document will be bank statement. Took place on the 27th, so I'm not going to write the date again. We are paying money to Big Bank, and they are deducting 198 Rand from my bank account for my bank charges. Bank charges is an expense account, and expenses will reflect in my nominal account section. Okay. Right, next transaction. Made the following electronic payments: 896 Rand to Telkom for telephone expenses, 743 Rand to the city treasurer for water and lights, 1,200 Rand to Getbat insurer for insurance, and 7,982 Rand to UTWO suppliers for trading stock. I'm going to put all of them in my cash payment journal. Remember, the source document for all of them was bank statement because it was electronic payments. So on the 27th, I'm not going to write the date again. We are paying money to Telkom. The amount that we are paying to Telkom was 896 Rand. They did not provide a column for this, so we are going to take it to sundry expenses, sundry account, and the reason telephone. Telephone is an expense, therefore it will go to the nominal accounts section. The next one, also electronic payment, therefore bank statement. My source document, we paid money to the city treasurer. I think I made a typo there, but in any case we paid them an amount of 743 Rand for electricity. 743 Rand electricity. Electricity is an expense account, it will go to the nominal accounts section. Next we paid Getbat insurer for insurance. Electronic payments are still bank statements. Getbat insurer, we paid them an amount of 1,200 Rand. for insurance. Insurance is an expense account, and it will go to the nominal account section. Next, we paid UTWO for trading stock, electronic payments, a bank statement. This was UTWO suppliers. Was an amount of 7,982 Rand for trading stock. 7,982 Rand. Right, next transaction. Next transaction took place on the 30th. Cash sales of 1,577 Rand, of which the cost price was 1,051 Rand. Right, so we received money. My source document will be cash register roll. This took place on the 30th. The details will be sales. We will get an opportunity to analyze this transaction before it reflects in my bank account at the end of the day. The reason I received this money is because of sales. To make money, I had to spend money. Cost of sales 1,051 Rand. Right, so last transaction. Last transaction took place on the 30th as well. Paid the wages directly into the bank account for 2 employees. Right, so directly means my source document must be bank statement. This took place on the 30th. Details will be cash. The amount being deducted from my bank was 4,500 Rand, and the reason being wages, 4,500 Rand. Right, we are done with all of our transactions. The only thing remaining with the journals is to total. Let's quickly total. So, first off, we will not total the analysis of receipts column, and the main reason is because this is not a business account. It's just a column where we analyze transactions. Right, so if you total the bank column in your cash receipts journal, you should get 53,145. If you total sales, you should get 8,365 Rand. If you total cost of sales, you should get 5,576 Rand. If you total debtors control, you should get 29,780 Rand. And if you total your sundry accounts, you should get 15,000 Rand. Right, if you total your cash payment journal, the bank column, you should get 45,106 Rand. If you total your trading stock, you should get 12,970 Rand. If you total your wages, you should get 25,800 Rand. And if you total your sundry account, you should get 6,336 Rand. Debtors journal, if you total your sales, you should get an amount of 13,119 Rand. Your cost of sales should total 10,126 Rand. And then lastly, your debtors allowances journal. Your debtors allowances will equal 408 Rand and your cost of sales 227 Rand. Right, now that we are done with the journals, we need to go to point or question 1.3 where they ask us to do the following transactions in our general ledger. Remember, I'm going to do all of the transactions, all of the accounts that we used with you, but these are the only ones with opening balances. All of the others, opening balances will start with 0. Right, so let's go to our general ledger. The first account that we are going to have a look at will be capital, and the signs for capital is minus plus. It is classified as an owner's equity account, and it will have a positive influence on owner's equity. So if you go, remember, we can only receive money, and that's the definition of capital. It's when you receive money from the owner. So you're going to go straight to your cash receipts journal, and we will see that transaction right there on the first, 15,000 Rand from Ms. Drift. Right, so let's go and put that in our general ledger. 15,000 Rand. We got this from our cash received journal 11 for November. Our details will be bank. This took place on the 1st of 2008 and November. There you go. Right, I will come back to balance the accounts later on. Let's just post over for now. Then drawings is the opposite of capital. So this is when the owner takes money out of the business. It is also classified as an owner's equity account, but it will have the opposite influence on owner's equity as capital. It will have a negative influence on owner's equity. So we will go straight to the cash payment journal, because by definition the business is paying money. Okay, this is when the owner takes money out of the business. So right here on the 15th, the owner took money out of the business for a Sun sound system, if I remember correctly, for 3,299 Rand. So my drawing signs is plus minus. The amount was 3,299 Rand, of which the folio, I got it from my cash payment journal 11. My details will be the bank account. This took place on the 15th of November 2008. There you go. Next one will be bank. So I remember they did not give us an opening balance for bank. We only received an amount of 53,145 Rand, and we paid a total of 45,106 Rand. So we received more than what we paid. It was a good month. Right, so we received 53,145 Rand. I got this from my cash receipt journal 11, and my details will be total receipts. Right, so this is a total of a column. When you work with the total of a column, you need to use the last day of the month to include all of the transactions that took place throughout the month. We paid a total of 45,106 Rand. We got this from our cash payment journal 11 for November. Details will be total payments. You're also allowed to, instead of total receipts and total payments, use sundry account. You will still get all of your marks. Right, I will come back to balance this account. Trading stock, they gave us an opening balance in the information of this activity. Let's go and have a look. Right, so trading stock had an opening balance of 45,762 Rand. Let's go and put that opening balance in my trading stock. Remember, trading stock is an asset account, therefore the signs will be plus minus, increase in the debit side and decrease in the credit side. So my trading stock had an opening balance of 45,762 Rand. An opening balance value will always be brought down, and my details will be balance. Can't be an account name because it's not a transaction. Will be on the 1st of November 2008. There you go. Okay, then trading stock. There happened a lot in trading stock. We sold products for cash to the value of 5,576 Rand. So my trading stock will decrease with that amount. Then we bought more trading stock to the value of 12,970 Rand. So my trading stock will increase with that amount. And then we sold trading stock on credit to the amount of 10,126 Rand. And then some of my customers were unhappy and they brought trading stock back. So my trading stock will increase with 227 Rand again. Right, let's go and fill all of that into my trading stock. Right, so trading stock will increase because I bought more trading stock of 12,970 Rand. I got this from my cash payment journal 11. My details for this will be bank because I bought cash. This was a total of a column, therefore I will use the last day of the month. My trading stock also increased when customers brought back products that they weren't happy with, to the amount of 227 Rand. I got this from my Debtors Allowances Journal 11, and my details will be cost of sales. Remember, I'm reversing that transaction. When I sold it originally, I incurred cost of sales, but now because the debtor brought the products back, I need to reverse that transaction, so my cost of sales will decrease. Also took place on the 30th, total of a column. I'm not going to write the date again. Right, my trading stock decreased because I sold for trading stock for cash to the amount of 5,576 Rand. I got this from my cash receipts journal 11. My details here will be cost of sales. Cost of sales. Total of a column there for 30th of November 2008. Right, and then I sold trading stock to the amount of 10,126 Rand on credit. I got this information from my debtors journal 11. My details will be cost of sales. Took place on the 30th, total of a column. I'm not going to write the date again. That's it for trading stock. We just need to come back to balance this account. Next one, debtors control. Debtors control, they gave us an opening balance. Debtors control of 35,599 Rand. Let's go and fill that into my debtors control account. My debtors control account is also an asset account, so it will increase in my debit side and decrease in my credit side. But my opening total, 35,000 Rand, will reflect in my debit side. 35,599 Rand. It's an opening balance, therefore my folio will be brought down. My details will be balance. Can't be another account name since it's not a transaction. Took place on the 1st of November 2008. Okay, then debtors control. There happened a lot as well. So in my cash receipts journal, customers settled their debts to the amount of 29,780 Rand. So my debtors control will decrease with that amount. 29,780 Rand. I got this from my cash receipts journal 11, and my details will be bank. This was a total of a column, therefore 30th of November 2008. Right, in my cash payment journal there should not be any transactions with debtors control. If I remember correctly, it was a mistake, but in your answer book there was a column provided for debtors control. It should be empty, otherwise you made a mistake. Okay, debtors journal. So I sold more stuff on credit, so my debtors control will increase with 13,119 Rand. Let's go and put that into my debtors control. 13,119 Rand. I got this from my debtors journal 11. My details will be sales, and this is a total of a column there for 30th. Right, next off, my debtors control unfortunately will decrease because some customers were unhappy and they brought stuff back, and we need to deduct a total of 408 Rand from my debtors control. Right, so let's go and deduct 408 Rand. I got this from my Debtors Allowances Journal 11. My details for this will be Debtors Allowances. There you go. Okay, I'm not going to rewrite the date again. I'll come back for the balancing just a bit later. I'm going to put this whole account on the next page. Otherwise it's going to split. Loan, DNW Bank. They gave me an opening balance, but I can't remember that we had any transactions with DNW Bank. So we're just going to put this opening balance, and it will also be my new opening balance for the next month. Right, so DNW loan from DNW Bank. The signs for loan or liabilities is minus plus. It will increase in my credit side. So 59,647. Right, and my folio will be BD brought down. Just want to double check my opening balance. 47 and 47, yes, it's correct. Details will be balance. Took place on the 1st of November 2008. Right, there you go. Then, as I said, I'll come back to the balancing, but sales. They did provide me with an opening total for sales, if I remember correctly. Let's go up to my information. So my opening total for sales, 78,872 Rand. Let's go and put that total into my sales. Remember, sales is classified as an income account. It will increase in my credit side. So sales, 78,872 Rand. The folio will be brought forward since it's an opening total. My details will be total. And my date will be the 1st since it's an opening total of November 2008. So I had a bunch of sales on credit and on cash. So I had cash sales to the amount of 8,365 Rand, and I had credit sales to the amount of 13,119 Rand. Right, so let's go and put that into my sales. So my sales increased with 8,365 Rand, which came from my cash receipts journal, 11. My details will be bank, since it was cash sales, and this took place on the 30th. Right, and then I had some credit sales. So my sales increased with 13,119 Rand. I got this from my Debtors Journal 11, and my details was Debtors Control. Debtors Control. So my sales, I will come back for the totaling. Then cost of sales was an expense account. So they did provide us with an opening total for cost of sales. Cost of sales of 52,500 Rand. Remember, cost of sales is an expense account, and expenses increases in the debit side. So 52,500 Rand. My folio will be brought forward. Brought down becomes brought forward in my nominal account section. Details will be total. It's an opening total, therefore it's the 1st of November 2008. Right, a bunch of stuff happened in cost of sales. So I had a lot of cash sales, of which my cost of sales will increase with 5,576 Rand. Let's go and put that into my cost of sales. So cost of sales will increase with 5,576 Rand. I got this information from my cash receipts journal 11, and my details will be trading stock. Okay, it's a total of a column, so therefore on the 30th. So Cost of sales is being debited with this amount. If you want to find your credit, you need to go and have a look in the trading stock account. Let's go and have a look. Trading stock, there's your debit. Okay, hope that makes sense. Right, but cost of sales, remember I had a lot of sales on credit as well, so my cost of sales on credit will increase with 10,126 Rand. Let's go and put that into my cost of sales. Right, so 10,126 Rand. Okay, I got this from my Debtors Journal 11. My details will be trading stock. Trading stock. This took place on the 30th. I'm not going to write the date again. Remember, some customers bought stuff and they were unhappy and they returned it, so I had to reverse cost of sales to the value of 227 Rand. My cost of sales will decrease with that amount. So cost of sales decrease 227 Rand. I got that information from my Debtors Allowances Journal 11, and my details will be trading stock. Okay, this is a total of a column, therefore 30th November 2008. So cost of sales is being credited with that amount. If you want to find your debit, you'll need to have to go and have a look in trading stock. Let's test this theory. Trading stock, there's your debit. Okay, right, so we're done with trading or cost of sales. I'll come back for the totaling. Then wages. They did not provide us with an opening total. Wages, we paid a lot of wages to the amount of 25,800 Rand. Let's go and put that in. Cost of sales is an expense account, and my expenses increases in my debit side to the amount of 25,800 Rand. Right, so next one will be bank charges. Let's just put this on a new page. Right, so bank charges. Bank charges we paid. So we paid a total bank charges of 198 Rand. Let's go and put that into my expense account. Bank charges 198 Rand. I got that information from my cash payment journal 11. My details will be the bank account, and this took place on the 27th. You need to use the exact date because it's not a total of a column. 2008 and November. Right, next one, telephone. Telephone of 896 Rand, which took place on the 27th as well. Telephone is also an expense account. Just a reminder, it's not the physical phone, it's just the telephone bill, which is an expense. So therefore 896 Rand. I got this from my cash payment journal 11. My details will be bank. This took place on the 27th of November 2008. Right, next one, electricity. Electricity 743 Rand. It's also an expense account. It will increase in my debit side. So 743 Rand. I got this from my cash payment journal 11. My details will be bank. This took place on the 27th. Remember, not a total of a column, so I need to use the exact date it took place on. Okay, so November 2008. Then insurance. Insurance of 1,200 Rand. Let's go and put that into my account, insurance. Also an expense account, so 1,200 Rand. I got this from my cash payment journal 11, and my details will be bank. This took place on the 27th as well, 2008 and November. Next one, debtors allowances. They did provide us with an opening total for debtors allowances. So debtors allowances are 4,658 Rand. Debtors allowances is the opposite of sales. It's an expense account. It will increase in my debit side. Oh, I can't remember the amount now. Let's go and check again. 4,658 Rand. Copy. No, I can't forget. Right. It's an opening total, so brought forward. My details will be total. It's a total it's an opening total, so this will be on the 1st of November 2008. Right, and then remember, people brought products back, debtors brought it back to the value of 408 Rand. So my debtors allowances will increase my expenses with 408 Rand. So 408 Rand. I got this from my debtors allowances journal 11. My details will be debtors control. And this is the total of a column there for the 30th. Right, so debtors allowances is being debited. You will find your credit in the debtors control account. Let's go and test this theory. Debtors control account, there is your credit. Okay, so now we will just balance and total, and then we will do the trial balance. Right, let's do the balancing and totaling of the general ledger accounts. First off, capital. First we need to decide, is my debit or my credit side the largest side? It's very easy to see that my credit side is the largest side, therefore I will total my largest side. Then I will determine how much do I need in my smaller side to make the two sides equal. I need 15,000 Rand. This was a calculation, and calculation starts with a C, therefore carried down also starts with a C. My reason will, or my details will be balance. Can't use another account's name since it is not a transaction, it's just a calculation of the difference between the two sides. This will always be done at the last day of the month. Okay, let's total my debit side as well. My smaller side, I see my debit equals my credit side, therefore I've done it correctly. My new opening balance for the 1st of December will be 15,000 Rand. An opening balance failure has always brought it down. My details will be balance, and my date will be the 1st of the next month, which is December. There you go. Right, drawings. Drawings are going to be the same except opposite side. We need to determine what side's the largest side. I see my debit side larger than my credit side. Therefore, let's total my debit side, 3,299. I can already see that I need 3,299 in my smaller side, my credit side. To make the two sides equal, my failure will be carried down. Details will be balanced. Right, so your date for this will be last day of the month, 2008 and November. Right, there you go. Debit side equals my credit side, therefore I've done it correctly. My new opening balance for the 1st of December will be 3,200 Rand. My folio will be brought down, details will be balance. The 1st day of December. There you go. Then bank. So we can see that my debit side larger than my credit side. So I'm going to total. Remember, you need to leave a line open in your smaller side. Here it was easy because the smaller side was open. But now I need to leave this line open. So I'm only going to start totaling in this side. I can see that my debit side larger than my credit side. So let's total my debit side. 53,145. Okay, and then how much do I need in my smaller side to make the two sides equal? I need 8,039 Rand. Okay, this was a calculation, therefore carried down. Details will be balance. And this will always be calculated at the last day of the month, the 30th. Right, let's total my smaller side, 53,145. My debit side equals my credit side, therefore I've done it correctly. My new opening balance will be 8,039 Rand. Brought down, balance, 1st day of December. There you go. Right, trading stock. We need to decide which side's the larger side. I can see if I total my debit side, it's going to be larger than my credit side, and there's a line open in my smaller side. Therefore, let's total trading stock 58,959. Okay, now I need to calculate how much I need to make the two sides equal. I'm going to take my 58,959 and I'm going to deduct 5,576. And I'm going to deduct 10,126. So I will get an amount of 43,257. This was a calculation, therefore carried down. My details will be balanced. The date is already the 30th. Therefore, I will total my credit side as well, 58,959. My debit side equals my credit side, therefore I have done this correctly. So my new opening balance 43,257. My new opening balance will be brought down and the details will be balance. 1st day of December. Right, debtors control. I can see if I total my debit side is going to be larger than my credit side, and I need to leave a line open in my smaller side, therefore I will total right here. So my debit side total 48,718 Rand. How much do I need on my smaller side to make the two sides equal? I'm going to take my 48,718 Rand and deduct my 27,780 Rand and my 408 Rand, and I should get an answer of 18,530. Was a calculation, therefore carried down. Details will be balance. We're already on the 30th, so I'm not going to write it again. Let's total my smaller side, 48,718 Rand. Debit equals credit, therefore I've done it correctly. My new opening balance will be 18,530 Rand. It's an opening balance, therefore brought down. Details, balance, 1st day of December. There you go. Right, loan, DNW Bank. We had no transaction further with them, only that one. So I will total my larger side, 59,647 Rand. Then how much do I need on my smaller side, my debit side, to make the two sides equal? 59,647 Rand. This was a calculation, therefore carried down. Details will be balance. on the last day of November 2008. There you go. Right, so now total my smaller side, I'll get 59,647. Debit equals credit, I've done it correctly. My new opening balance will be 59,647. It's an opening balance, therefore my failure will be brought down. Details will be balance, and this opening balance will be the first day of December, first day of the next month. There you go. Right, in nominal account section, if the one side is empty, I am allowed to only total. Therefore, I'm gonna take this shortcut and I'm only gonna total my sales, 100,356 rand. Unfortunately, cost of sales not the case. Cost of sales has transactions both sides. I will total my largest side. I can see my debit side is going to be the largest, so 68,202. How much do I need on my smaller side to make the two sides equal? I will take my 68,202 and deduct my 227 rand. I will get 67,975 rand. That was the calculation, therefore my failure will be carried down and my details will be balanced. This calculation is done the last day of the month. I'm not going to write the date again. Let's calculate or total my credit side to see that we've done it correctly. 68,202. Debit equals my, or credit equals my debit, therefore I've done it correctly. My new opening balance will be 67,975 rand. It's an opening balance, therefore I made a mistake. Carried down will become carried forward and balance will become total. See how easy it is to make that mistake? Okay, and carried down will become carried forward, or brought down will become brought forward. My details will become total, balance becomes total, first day of December. There you go. Alright, wages. One side is empty, therefore I am allowed to only total. But I see the other information here has also not been filled in yet. This was brought forward. Details will be total. Last day because it was a total of a column. Okay, 30th of November 2008. There you go. Right, bank charges, one side is empty. I am allowed to only total. There you are done. Telephone, one side is empty. I'm allowed to only total. Therefore, I am done. Electricity, one side is empty. I'm allowed to only total. 43,743. I am done. Insurance, one side is empty. Let's just total my debit side, 1,200, and I am done. Debtors allowance at one side is empty. I'm allowed to only total, so let's only total 5,066 rand. Right, now the trial balance. Very, very easy. We're just going to fill in the balances of my general ledger and then it should balance. If it's not balancing, then I made a mistake somewhere. Right, so capital has a credit balance of 15,000 rand. So let's go and fill that in. We have a credit balance of 15,000 rand. Okay. It is in the balance sheet section, therefore B. Right, and then drawings. Drawings has a debit balance of 3,299. Therefore, drawings, it's in our balance sheet section, debit balance of 3,299 rand. Then, my bank account, let's go and find that balance. Bank, debit balance of 8,039 rand. Let's go and fill that in. So bank, balance sheet section, and the amount was 8,039 rand. Then next one, my trading stock account has a debit balance of 43,257 Rand. Let's go and fill that in the debit side. Balance sheet section account, and therefore 43,257 Rand. 257, yes, it's correct. Right, next one, debtors control. Debtors control has a debit balance of 18,530 Rand. Balance sheet section and debit side, 18,530 Rand. Next one will be my loan account. Let's go and get that balance. Loan account, credit side 59,647. Credit side. Right, so loan from DNW Bank with a credit, remember balance sheet section, and then with a credit balance of 59,647. Right, nominal account section. Sales will be first. Sales has a credit balance of 100,356. Sales, nominal account section, and credit balance of 100,356. That one's done correctly. Go, and then next one, cost of sales has a debit balance of 67,975. So let's go and put that in my debit side. 67,975 cost of sales. Nominal account section. After cost of sales we did wages, if I remember correctly. Yes, wages, debit balance 25,800. And after wages it was bank charges 198 Rand. Nominal account section 198 Rand. Then telephone debit side 896 Rand. Nominal account section and 896 Rand. Then after telephone it was my electricity debit side 743 Rand. So electricity, nominal account section, because it's an expense, and it was 743 Rand. After electricity it was insurance, debit side 1,200. Nominal account section and 1,200 Rand. And then lastly it was my debtors allowances, also an expense. Nominal account section with a debit balance of 5,066 Rand. Now debit, the total of my debit side should total my or equal my total of my credit side. So let's total. My debit side should total 175,000 Rand and 3 Rand, and my debit side as well. So 175,003 Rand. There you go. I hope this was helpful and that you understand the general ledger and trial balance and accounting equation and the journals of credit sales a bit better. Have a great day.